Why people get sick. Health holds the foremost and most important place among all things necessary for human life. You cannot buy health with money or keep it with a high position, and what determines its existence is immunity. What is immunity? Science defines it as the body's ability to remain in a physiological state, but I would say this definition is too general. Therefore, I believe it's necessary to present its true explanation, because seeking true knowledge means obtaining complete information about the issue in question. This is essential to solve any problems that might arise regarding it. Finding true knowledge about immunity requires engaging with the human phenomenon. This is determined by the fact that humans are beings with the capacity for consciousness and a broad range of thought. If a person loses this ability, they are considered to have fallen out of the standard of humanity, no matter how physically well they may appear. Since we are talking about finding true knowledge, it requires delving into the depths of the issue. To do this, we need to explain the foundation of a person's ability to think. I will begin this explanation by saying a person is a being created by God. Science has not been able to gain complete knowledge about the human phenomenon because it has denied the existence of God. As for religion, it also lacks sufficient knowledge in this area because it is separated from science. True knowledge is only possible if the subject is studied through a close collaboration between the laws of the world presented in the Bible and scientific achievements. Following this method, let's see what the laws of the Bible tell us about the human phenomenon. There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone it is the same God at work. Now to each one the manifestation of the Spirit is given for common good. To one there is given through the Spirit of message of wisdom, to another message of knowledge by means of the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by that one Spirit, to another miraculous powers, to another prophecy, to another distinguishing between spirits, to another speaking in different kinds of tongues, and to still another the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and he distributes them to each one just as he determines. When God molded man, he gave him patience and customs, and he set reason on the throne at the holy guide of all the senses and gave it a law. By this law, man was to rule a wise, righteous, a good and worthy kingdom. The mind governs not its own patience, but only the patience of the body. A man cannot cut out rage from his soul, but in his rage he can call on reason for help. A man cannot cut out a wicked habit, but he can present an unbending will against that wicked habit as a fellow fighter with reason. The mind is not an extractor of passions, but their opponent. Reason is a kind of judgment that through right decisions choose a wise life, and wisdom is knowledge of divine and human affairs, along with an understanding of their cause. It's true, I have said this many times, but I will state it again. Reason is a fruit of the Spirit, while thinking is a fruit of the flesh. As for the relationship between the spirit and the body, it is as follows. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. So a person has both spiritual and carnal qualities. This satisfaction of the needs of these qualities cause them to have nervous breakdowns, and since we have now reached the nervous system, we can determine what constitutes a solid foundation For high immunity, I will tell you it is a balanced state between the activation of spiritual and carnal qualities. The ideal balance is 70% spiritual and 30% carnal. This is called a state of calmness. This state is only ensured by one factor, that the person must follow the laws that God has specifically established for humans. As the Bible also says, the creator of the universe sympathized with human nature when he established the law. Because this requirement has never been perfectly fulfilled by humans, a person's nervous system is as out of order as their ability to follow these laws. To put it another way, their calmness threshold has deviated from the norm, and the balance of their nervous system is tilted toward an agitated state. This causes a decrease in immunity. In other words, the foundation of a person's health is their state of calmness. To realize that this is true, I will remind you of some well-known things, specifically the state called fear, which takes over a person when they are in a lie. Yet the truth is that the foundation of fear is being in a false belief. If a person manages to correctly perceive reality and place their attitude on the rails of truth, they will be freed from the grip of that unknown fear that constantly attacks them while they are awake and does not even let them rest during sleep through dreams. The fear does this so that their calmness threshold does not return to normal. I don't think there is a person who has not experienced the effect of moving from a lie to the truth at least once in their life. People describe this state by saying it's as if a boulder has been lifted from my chest, or I finally took a normal breath, and so on. What is fear? Why is its power so strong that it binds a person even though it has no physical form? Science cannot give a complete answer to this, but the Bible can, and here it is. For wickedness condemned by her own testimony is cowardly, and being pressed by conscience always anticipates the worst. For fear is nothing else than giving up the help that comes from reason, and the less the inward expectation is, the more unknown the cause of torment seems. Therefore the Bible testifies that when a person believes out of alignment with the truth, their reason, which is oriented towards the truth, will naturally function in a limited way. This means that in such a person, the activity of carnal qualities outweighs the spiritual ones, and accordingly their calmness threshold is also broken. That is, they are in a zone of fear. Now let's define what belief is. To explain this, I must mention the term attitude. It shows the direction of person's nervous system vibration. It serves to transfer a wave of excitement through the body, and it does this in one of two opposite directions, of either or a lie or the truth. The direction of truth moves toward the reason, while the direction of lie moves against reason. Therefore it turns to the body, where it will inevitably collide with the next incoming current in some zone. This causes agitation. Furthermore, a person's attitude moving against reason causes a limitation of reason's function, which we call the slip of reason. In a foregone case, this will block the function of reason, and on its basis, the spirit and body separate, which means the onset of death.